We're going to talk about dimensioning. And the reason we make dimension drawings is so that a person that makes things in a shop can actually make the part. It has to be a complete set of instructions, so it has to have all the dimensions that are required to make the part on the piece of paper. So let's take a look at some dimensioning rules and some common practices. The first one is that the same dimension is not required on multi-view drawings. So here we have a front view and a top view, and we have a 3-inch dimension on the front view, and we have a 3-inch dimension on the top view. That's what's called double dimensioning. They're the same dimension, but that one that's on the top is unnecessary and shouldn't be used. Here is that same part, but with just one dimension on it. So that is the correct way to do this part. One dimension for each part. Next thing, overall dimensions are to be placed outside of smaller dimensions. So this is a smaller dimension. We're going to do what's called baseline dimensioning. We're going to go from the left to the right, and then we're going to go from bottom to top. And we always start from the same point on the left-hand side. So when I'm dimensioning, I would click this left-hand corner right here, and then I start to travel across until I find a corner or a line, and then I would click the next time on this corner to the right. This is the shortest dimension. So I would drag the dimension up and drop it here. And because this is the shortest dimension, it is closest to the part. Now I'm going to go back to my baseline. I'm going to click with my dimension tool running, and I'm going to pull across, and I already got that one until I find this dimension right here. I'm going to then click on this corner, and I'm going to make sure that this dimension goes above this smaller dimension. So I would place it up here. The third dimension, I'd start my dimensioning tool up. I'd click on this left-hand baseline, and I'd travel across. We already dimensioned that one. We dimensioned that one. And then I'm going to click on this right-hand corner here. That would make me have the 3 dimensions that are necessary on the top view after I place this up here. Then, so I've gone from left to right. The next thing, I'm going to go from bottom to top. So I'm going to click on this lower corner, and then I'm going to travel up, and I'm going to click on the first corner or line that I get to, and I'm going to place that dimension to the right of the view. Then I'll go back to my baseline. I'll start the baseline with the corner down here, and then I'll travel up. We've got that one, and then the last one is going to be this one on the top right-hand corner. I'll click that, drag it out, and drop it past the 2.5-inch dimension. So that gives me the smaller dimension being closer to the part than is the longest dimension. It looks very nice this way. Now, for circular parts, diameters, 360 degrees, dimensions are given to center lines where necessary. I call this the bullseye. It's also called a center mark. We'll show you how to do center marks in projects later on when we have circular holes and things. So again, I'm going to go from left to right to do my dimensioning. So I'm going to dimension from the left-hand corner to the center line and insert that dimension right above the part. This one, they didn't do what I told you. I told you you're going to go from bottom to top. This one, they did what's called chain dimensioning. See, the dimensions are in a row. They also started it at the top. I would not dimension, and you won't dimension like this in the future. But I would start down here in the lower right corner, and I would come up to this center mark, click on that one also, pull the dimension out to the right, and drop it outside. Then I would restart with my corner, and then I'd come up to the end of this line and put that dimension further out than the shorter one. When you do dimension diameters and such, you're going to give the diameter hole if it's 360 degrees. So the little circle with a slash through it, that means diameter. You don't use that for dimensioning radiuses though. And a radius is this dimension right here, and you always give the radius of an arc using a leader. That's what a leader is right there. It's the thing with an arrow on the end of it. The line comes out at between 30 and 45 degrees, and then you have the text here, and it'll always have a letter R in front of it. The nice thing about our software is that it always does this type of radius dimensioning for anything that's 359 degrees or less, and it always does the diameter automatically for anything that is 360 degrees. Next, dimensions are generally not placed inside of view outlines. Here is a bad example of dimensioning. The dimensions are inside of the outline of the part. We just don't do this. Simple as that. We can do our dimensioning like we've seen before in the beginning of this PowerPoint, or not PowerPoint, but this sheet. So this is incorrect because the dimensions are inside of the outline of the part. And then this is correct over here. Next up, extension lines are placed so they do not cross dimension lines. Here it is incorrect. The lines that go up and down are called dimension lines. The lines that go across here are called extension lines. These are extension lines in horizontal, and these are dimension lines. They're called dimension lines because the dimension is between them. So you can see right here, the shortest dimension is not closest to the part. It's away from it. It's the second farthest away. So here we have a extension line crossing a dimension line. Again, over here, here is an extension line crossing a dimension line. So this is correct, again, on the left-hand side. This rule or guideline says avoid dimensioning to hidden lines. I will tell you right now, never dimension to hidden lines. We can do what are called section views to dimension to hidden lines if we need to, but that's a subject for another day. Just never dimension to hidden lines. Next important thing is we're going to place dimensions near the views. We're going to put them between views and above views whenever possible. There are exceptions to most of the dimensioning rules here or guidelines. You can see that this is the set of dimensions is above the part, so that's good. These guys are between the part right here. Again, between the part over here. But we do have some below the parts, like down here and on this side, and we have this diameter. There are occasions where you just have to put the dimension below the actual part. This one you probably could have put up here without any trouble. This guy over here, this 0.5, if they had put it up here, it might be too confusing with this other 0.75 dimension here. So you might be able to tell me that this is the reason you put this one down here, and I wouldn't have any difficulty with this. So just a few things out of this. Non-circular parts get 3 views. That's going to be a front view. You put the front view in first, then you put in the right-hand side view and the top view and the isometric view fourth. Anything else that might be put in are section views and detail views. You don't know what those are yet, but we'll cover those eventually. Circular parts generally only require 2 views. We haven't done any circular parts, but we will be in short order. So there is a process to go through that's written here on the bottom of this page to do dimensioning, and I'm going to be doing dimensioning in the next video.